On our wedding anniversary, Olivia discovered Daniel chatting with Victoria, saying Olivia was better suited to be his mistress. When they divorced, he feigned sincerity, wanting to remain boyfriend and girlfriend, but Olivia rebuffed him. After the divorce, without Dad, Richard Miller's support, his company collapsed and Victoria ran off with someone else. Two turned against each other. In the end, Daniel became a gigolo for wealthy women and a bar escort, while Victoria became a secretary for an old man and was often taken advantage of. 3 years into our marriage. To give Daniel the anniversary gift I had meticulously prepared, I secretly started an internship at his company. To surprise Daniel Sullivan, I pretended I was on a trip abroad. Even Daniel Sullivan genuinely believed I was on a Paris vacation. In the company elevator, I heard a group of employees discussing Daniel Sullivan. Daniel Sullivan is truly an older man worthy of his reputation, handsome and rich. Don't be starstruck. Daniel Sullivan is already married. It's just a shame his wife seems to be a stay-at-home spouse. So she's supported by her husband, right? Look at me, tough luck. The year I was 20 and in college, Daniel Sullivan, 10 years my senior, fell for me at first sight. To show his sincerity, Daniel Sullivan said we could get married right away. He wanted to give me the most formal status, wife. Naturally, I didn't want to let such a sincere Daniel Sullivan down. After 2 years of dating, I got married immediately after graduation. It was warm and sweet, passionate and sincere. This relationship was the true love I had always dreamed of. An older man's love, steady and reassuring, spoiled me like a princess. I was so dizzy with happiness, completely lost in the sweet romance. If it hadn't been for this sudden impulse to surprise him, I might never have known Daniel Sullivan's true colors. Victoria Hayes, Daniel Sullivan's business partner. With a charming demeanor, she was a powerful executive praised by everyone. She often stayed late with Daniel Sullivan until the early hours, and they frequently attended company gatherings together. The entire company relied on Victoria Hayes. When Daniel Sullivan was handling external relations, Victoria Hayes managed internal operations of the entire company impeccably. She managed internal operations, Daniel Sullivan handled external relations. Before the news of Daniel Sullivan's marriage broke, everyone at the company thought they were a model couple. While working late at the company, I overheard Victoria Hayes's best friend openly complaining at the company. I really don't know what Victoria Hayes sees in him. She's such a beauty and he acts like he doesn't even notice her. I truly feel Victoria Hayes deserves better. She gave up a position at a top-tier firm just to become Mr. Sullivan's partner here. Just wait and see. Given time, Mr. Sullivan will surely realize Victoria Hayes's worth and divorce the one he has at home. I heard many similar comments, but I didn't pay attention. 'Cause Daniel and I had a vibrant home life, and his kisses were passionate and dominant. Until one company gathering, Victoria Hayes got drunk and confessed her feelings to Daniel Sullivan in front of the entire company. Calling it a confession, everyone actually knew she was asking Daniel Sullivan if he had ever loved her. Daniel Sullivan fell into a long silence. Victoria Hayes's eyes filled with tears. If you don't love me, then why don't you agree to let me step down from my partner position? Daniel Sullivan closed his eyes in resignation. I did love you. Saying this, Daniel Sullivan tenderly pulled Victoria Hayes into his embrace. Actually, I've liked you for a long time. I can't lose you. That's why I don't want you to leave this company, Victoria Hayes. Please don't go, okay? Hearing his reply, Victoria Hayes laughed freely, broke free from Daniel Sullivan's embrace, and ran out. Crowd remained silent for a long time. Daniel Sullivan threw on his jacket and ran after her. I had entered the company secretly. If I had attended the gathering, I would definitely have been recognized. So I didn't attend. Instead, company chat group was already buzzing with these videos circulating. Wow, what a romantic confession. Maybe they've already been doing that in bed. I slowly replied in the group. Don't spread rumors. How can you say I'm spreading rumors? I think Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Hayes are a perfect match and they're so compatible at work. You could even call them soulmates. If Mr. Sullivan didn't want anything to happen, why would he run after her? To protect Daniel Sullivan's reputation, I firmly argued in the group. Mr. Sullivan is a married man. He'll definitely remain faithful to his wife. Does Ms. Hayes know you're spreading rumors about her being a homewrecker? You're such a buzzkill. Anyway, whether they get together or not, we'll find out eventually, hee. Just as I was about to retort, a text message popped up. Wife, are you coming back to the country soon? My heart skipped a beat. Why ask now? After all this time? I can't return just yet. Remember to water the flowers on the patio for me. Daniel Sullivan quickly replied. I'm not coming home today. I've already told Maria. After much thought, called him on video. But no one answered the call. My heart sank. I called a few more times. Daniel Sullivan finally answered the call. Liv, I just had a video conference and didn't see your call. What's wrong? Suppressing the strange feeling in my heart, I subtly observed the room behind Daniel Sullivan. Daniel, why are you so busy today? Don't overwork yourself. It's fine, Liv. It's nothing for Daniel to be tired. It's all for our family. I clenched my palm, feigning nonchalance as I asked, Is there a woman in your room? Daniel Sullivan paused, then laughed. Liv, you're so funny. When have I ever had a woman in my room? See for yourself. With that, Daniel Sullivan quickly spun the camera around to show me. The screen indeed showed nothing. But in a fleeting reflection on the window, two blurry figures appeared. Although Daniel Sullivan's expression in the video was calm, I noticed sweat beaded on his forehead. Even though he didn't realize it himself, the reflection in the window had already revealed everything. Good. I didn't need to test Daniel Sullivan anymore. The affair. He was caught red-handed. I uttered bitterly. Okay, Daniel, you go back to work then. I have plans to hang out with my best friend anyway. I feigned a trip to Paris. Pretending to be happy, I prepared to hang up the call. But Daniel Sullivan suddenly spoke. Liv, the video conference just landed a big deal and it's crucial for the company. I'll need to work overtime to get everything ready for the client. If I can't answer your call, please don't be mad, Liv. I'll make it up to you once I'm done. Couldn't answer. Or couldn't answer because Victoria Hayes was right there. Too bad, I no longer cared at all. That night felt long and difficult. I couldn't sleep, which meant I had to go to the company the next day with dark circles under my eyes. Feeling groggy, Chloe, the young lady who chatted with me in the group, came over. Chloe said triumphantly, Yesterday, Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Hayes definitely spent the night together. Seeing her gossipy expression, my heart stirred. Chloe got even more excited, and Ms. Hayes even specifically changed into a turtleneck blouse today. Miss Hayes never wears those usually, and she just feels so different today. I asked, how is she different? Chloe scratched her head, unable to articulate it. But I saw Victoria Hayes. Victoria Hayes was wearing a tight turtleneck blouse. Although it was conservative, her good figure was still evident. Chloe exclaimed, Miss Hayes has become so sophisticated. That blouse once belonged to me. Back then, Daniel Sullivan had his arm around my waist, whispering intimately in my ear, Liv, you'd look stunning in this. Unfortunately, there was only one sample left in the store at the time, and Daniel Sullivan didn't want me to wear something someone else had tried on. So he ordered a new one and had it delivered to his office. Now the blouse had arrived. But its owner had changed. After being nourished by love, Victoria Hayes became much kinder to everyone. Annual leave requests that were likely to be rejected before were actually approved. Colleagues around me looked delighted. One by one, they eagerly submitted their annual leave applications. I watched like an outsider, my heart a mix of emotions. I could only bury myself in work, trying not to think about it. But the people around me constantly reminded me. Daniel Sullivan was having an affair with Victoria Hayes. I sat at my cubicle in a daze. But then I saw Victoria Hayes enter Daniel Sullivan's office with documents. Through that, I never saw them come out. I received a message on my phone. It was from Chloe, the young lady from before. She had added me on text message, wanting to share real-time gossip with me. Wow, you have no idea how scandalous Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Hayes are. From my angle, I saw Ms. Hayes enter Mr. Sullivan's office, and after putting down the documents, she immediately jumped into his arms. With that, Chloe also sent a covertly recorded video. In the video, Victoria Hayes provocatively twisted her body and sat on Daniel Sullivan's lap. She was still holding a document, which she then placed on the table. Even though I was happy watching such juicy gossip, if I put myself in Mr. Sullivan's wife's shoes, oh, I'd be furious. Seeing Chloe defending me, I advised her. Be careful. You might get caught slacking off soon. Your expression is too obvious. Sure enough, Chloe didn't reply to my text message. 10 minutes later, Chloe sent me a crying emoji. Ms. Rodriguez yelled at me. Boo-hoo. She said I was meddling and disrupting their illicit romance. What illicit romance? Victoria Hayes is just a homewrecker. I comforted her. Ms. Rodriguez is Ms. Hayes' best friend, so she's definitely going to stick up for her. Try to be more discreet when slacking off at work from now on. Ms. Rodriguez penalized me with a huge report. Oh no, I'm definitely working overtime tonight. Seeing my gossip buddy so pitiful, I quietly replied, share some with me, I'll help you do it. The sooner we finish, the sooner we can leave. Wow, you're such a good person. It was after work, and we were still working overtime. Most people had already left by the time we barely finished the task. Chloe leaned against me, listless. Olivia, I'm so exhausted and my period cramps are severe. A lowly intern. Even sick, she had to keep working overtime. I found her a heating pad to warm herself up. Chloe's face was pale. Olivia, can you help me take this to the office? I really can't walk. Please, please. Just thinking about what Daniel Sullivan did in his office, I felt nauseous. But Chloe was truly pitiful. I sighed, picked up the report. I'll take it for you. You rest well here. As I placed the report on Daniel Sullivan's desk, I suddenly saw his computer was still on. Daniel Sullivan was always so careless. A message notification popped up on the computer. How's Victoria Hayes compared to your childish wife? I couldn't help but open the text message app. There was a group chat in the text message app. I knew it was Daniel Sullivan's close friends. They were openly sending messages. Daniel Sullivan replied on his phone. I'm not doing it for that. You guys don't understand. Victoria Hayes is a partner in the company. Half the company relies on her. What would happen to the company if she left? What would happen to me if she left? His friends chimed in, one after another. You put in a lot of effort chasing that young lady back then. Aren't you afraid she'll find out and make a scene with you? Although Victoria Hayes is truly hot, is she willing to remain your mistress forever? Even so, isn't that just a testament to Mr. Sullivan's capability? Maintaining a stable home life while pursuing affairs outside. It's better for you three to just make your lives work. As they chatted, people in the group started congratulating Daniel Sullivan. A trophy wife at home, a powerful executive outside. It's what many men dream of. Mr. Sullivan's trophy wife at home still depends on Mr. Sullivan for her livelihood. If it weren't for Mr. Sullivan, could she casually go on a Paris vacation? If it weren't for Mr. Sullivan, could she afford designer brands and live in a mansion? I say, for the sake of her current life, she definitely wouldn't dare to make a fuss. Or perhaps it just goes to show how amazing Mr. Sullivan is. I took a deep breath, suppressing my emotions. This divorce. didn't need to be a scene to happen. Daniel Sullivan had no shame, but Olivia Miller valued dignity. Suddenly, Daniel Sullivan sent a flurry of messages. Indeed, my wife is beautiful, but I've grown tired of it over time. She can't compare to Victoria Hayes. I can't believe why I didn't marry a strong businesswoman back then, someone who could also take care of the company, instead of marrying a trophy wife whom I have to constantly appease. Compared to being a wife, she's actually better suited to be the other woman. Divorcing now would be a bit of a loss, it's a shame. So, that was Daniel Sullivan's true feeling. He felt it was a shame. Not a shame for our relationship, but a shame for the postmarital asset division. I laughed coldly. I could leave with nothing in the divorce, not a single penny. But could Daniel Sullivan bear that cost? Gazing at those disgusting chat records, I activated my phone's screen recording feature. Then I pretended everything was normal and left work with Chloe. After parting ways, I took a taxi home. Seeing me, Maria showed a surprised expression. "Oh my, miss, why are you home so late? You didn't even tell me to pick you up." Hearing Maria's rambling, Dad, Richard Miller, rushed out of the room. "Liv, why didn't you tell Dad you were coming home earlier? It's so unsafe this late." Seeing Dad rush out, even with his slippers on the wrong feet, I couldn't hold back. Tears instantly streamed down my face. Dad pulled me into a tight hug. "Liv, why are you crying? What's upsetting you?" I buried my face in his chest, sobbing, "Dad, where's Daniel Sullivan? Why didn't he take care of you? He cheated." Dad's body stiffened, and he angrily punched the wall. "That scumbag. I knew he was no good. I'm going to kill him right now." Seeing Dad prepare to call in favors, I pressed down on his hand. Dad looked at me with concern. "It's windy outside, let's go inside first." A few minutes later, I was curled up on the soft sofa, wrapped in a warm blanket. Maria put a cup of hot ginger tea in my hand. "Drink it quickly, warm yourself up." Dad sat beside me, his face full of rage. "Liv, let's get you a divorce." I replied without hesitation. "Okay." Within minutes, the lawyer had arrived at the Miller estate living room. I showed the saved chat records and videos to the lawyer. Dad saw them too. It was the first time I'd ever seen Dad so angry. The walnuts in his hand were crushed into several pieces. Still fuming, Dad called his secretary. "Tomorrow, halt all collaborations with Sullivan Enterprises. Coordinate with the lawyer. Terminate contracts not yet signed directly, and for signed ones, find Daniel Sullivan's loopholes, make him pay breach of contract fees, and then terminate." After the call, the lawyer's divorce agreement was also drafted. Dad comforted me. "Liv, just rest easy at home." I wiped away my tears, softly saying, "Dad, I want to move my things out." That was Daniel Sullivan's and my marital home. We had too many memories there. But now I felt disgusted. Disgusted that my things would eventually become Victoria Hayes's. "Liv, if you want this house, Dad will have the lawyer get it for you in the asset division." "No, Dad, I feel this house is too dirty now. It's not fit for my things." I stayed home for a week. Life at home was very comfortable and relaxing. I thought Daniel Sullivan would notice my absence and confront me. But to my surprise, a week passed, and Daniel Sullivan hadn't returned home at all. He just feigned sincerity, sending me photos of plants every day. He didn't even know that Plant was no longer in the house. Yet every day at the company, I saw him and Victoria Hayes being intimate in the office. Ever since our shared overtime experience, Chloe was even more eager to share gossip with me. "Oh my goodness. You wouldn't believe how out of control Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Hayes are in the office." The sounds even carried out. Employees in our section all heard them. Subsequently, Chloe sent several explicit videos. "Mr. Sullivan is so cheap. He doesn't even want to go to a hotel." I calmly replied, "Perhaps the office is more thrilling." While saying this, I saved all the videos to my phone. Chloe was truly bold. For gossip, she took risks for gossip every day. Sure enough, Chloe was targeted again. Her workload kept increasing. For the sake of my gossip buddy's well-being, I had no choice but to work overtime with her. The internship period was almost over. Chloe said she still wanted to stay at the company. Where else would I find such scandalous gossip after leaving the company? Even though Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Hayes have questionable ethics, they pay well. Hearing that I was leaving after my internship concluded successfully, Chloe felt a little regretful. But no one expected. Near the end, at the last moment, we interns were called in by Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez coldly laughed and displayed the chat records. Those were my chat records with Chloe. Someone had anonymously reported these chat records. Ms. Rodriguez told us to confess who was slandering Daniel Sullivan and Victoria Hayes in the chat records. Chloe trembled with fear in front of me. She looked at me for help. Ms. Rodriguez proudly surveyed us. Confess now, and at most I'll give you a failing grade on your internship certificate. But if I find out, you'll have to pay the company $1 million in liquidated damages and reputation loss fees. I laughed in anger. I had never heard of such unjust terms. I never imagined Victoria Hayes could be so brazen in the company now, allowing her best friend to abuse power for personal revenge. Seeing Chloe hesitantly about to step forward, I grabbed her hand, stepping in front of her. I said it. So what? Ms. Rodriguez scoffed and slapped an unsatisfactory internship report and a notice for liquidated damages down in front of me. You're fired now. I ignored Chloe frantically poking my back. Took a deep breath and loudly rebuffed her. Victoria Hayes does have questionable ethics. She's a knowing homewrecker, and we're not allowed to talk about it? The entire office heard my voice. The air fell silent for 2 seconds. Everyone inside and outside the room looked at me in shock. I didn't have time to pay attention to them. Picking up those 2 thin papers, I turned and rushed towards Daniel Sullivan's conference room. If I remembered correctly, today was their shareholders' meeting. All the executives and managers were in the meeting. When I burst in, everyone was stunned. Someone reprimanded me. Where did this young lady come from, so reckless? Get out. That's right. 3 years into our marriage, not a single person recognized me. Everyone throughout the company only recognized Victoria Hayes. No one knew what Mrs. Sullivan's name was or what she looked like. Daniel Sullivan saw me, frowned slightly, looking somewhat surprised. Victoria Hayes, with her glamorous face, disdainfully echoed, "If you don't know the rules, have your manager teach you properly. What could be so urgent that you burst into a meeting like this?" I smiled, pretending not to understand her sarcastic remarks. I heard Ms. Rodriguez said that anyone in the company who calls you a knowing homewrecker will get an unsatisfactory internship and have to pay $1 million in liquidated damages? These words sounded truly astonishing. Everyone present looked at Victoria Hayes. Victoria Hayes's smile froze on her face. Perhaps she hadn't expected me to speak so directly. She snorted. What, you can't afford the money? So you've come to beg for mercy? By now, her status was public knowledge. Her affair with Daniel Sullivan had also reached the ears of all the executives. Victoria Hayes wanted to solidify her position, so she had to assert her authority. She said sternly, "You still have time to apologize to me." I looked across the table at Daniel Sullivan. His mouth twitched, seeming very displeased. Daniel Sullivan, what exactly are you dissatisfied with? Didn't you condone this whole situation? I sneered. Apologizing is out of the question. It's just $1 million, isn't it? With that, I pulled out the portable megaphone I had prepared from my bag, and with deep breath I spoke. Ms. Hayes, you're not just a knowing homewrecker, you're shameless. You want to be Mr. Sullivan's mistress and still expect his original wife to show deference to you? What do you, Victoria Hayes, Have? If you truly want to enter the Sullivan family, you should first kneel and bow to me, the original wife. Victoria Hayes's face fell. Everyone in the company was jolted awake by my shouts and realized my identity. Everyone collectively looked at Daniel Sullivan. Daniel Sullivan's face was filled with anger. He slammed the table in anger and stood up abruptly. Have you caused enough trouble? Trouble? Who's truly causing trouble? I'm merely being forced into this by you two, scumbag and homewrecker. Does Mr. Sullivan still want me to pay this million? Daniel Sullivan's face turned ashen with rage. But he still spoke up for Victoria Hayes. Openly chatting during working hours doesn't comply with the internship handbook's stated regulations. Victoria Hayes is acting according to the rules and regulations. Victoria Hayes was already swaying, but hearing Daniel Sullivan's words, she regained her confidence. Yes, I'm doing everything by the book. Rules. Ha! How disgusting. What rules and regulations? The company belonged to Daniel Sullivan. With just a word from him, I could have successfully finished my internship and avoided the compensation. His words were merely to protect Victoria Hayes in front of everyone. My reputation, my feelings, were naturally not as important as Victoria Hayes's. The moment he stood up, I knew Daniel Sullivan had never chosen me. Looking at Daniel Sullivan, who was panting with rage, I actually laughed out loud. I can't afford this million, so I'll just have to pay with something else. Victoria Hayes looked at me, her expression shifting. What do you have that's worth $1 million? I slammed the divorce agreement from my bag onto the table. How about the divorce agreement? I met Daniel Sullivan's gaze and added, my divorce agreement where I leave with nothing, surely that's worth more than $1 million, right? Daniel Sullivan's net worth is at least in the hundreds of millions. Let alone $1 million. $10 million wouldn't even cover it. Daniel Sullivan and Victoria Hayes's expressions changed simultaneously. Not just them, everyone in the conference room looked at me differently. In the silence, the people in the conference room started leaving first, quietly exiting one by one, leaving the space for the three of us. Indeed, if I divorced as the at-fault party, the asset division would be highly unfavorable to Daniel Sullivan. And Daniel Sullivan's money was the company's money. They also didn't want to change bosses or lose their jobs. Daniel Sullivan immediately handed the divorce agreement to Victoria Hayes. Watching their blatant intimacy, I felt a wave of nausea. Although I had prepared myself mentally, it still stung. I slowed my breathing, not allowing myself to show emotion in front of them. A long time passed. Veronica Hayes finally smiled, pushing the divorce papers towards Daniel Miller. No problem. I'll walk away with nothing. Seeing the undisguised surprise on Daniel Miller's face, I urged him, hurry up and sign, Mr. Miller. Daniel Miller held the pen but didn't put it to paper. He looked at me. Are you sure about this? Of course. Did you think I was messing with you? Yes, I'm sure, you big goofball. Daniel Miller signed his name. As he pushed the papers towards me, he held them down. You're still young. I can still take care of you after the divorce. We're clearly better suited as boyfriend and girlfriend than as husband and wife. Veronica Hayes is more tolerant than you are. How ridiculous. Daniel Miller. How dare you say that? Don't you fear bad dreams? I glanced at Veronica Hayes, whose expression was twisted. Your precious wife doesn't look very tolerant. Otherwise, she wouldn't have forced me into a divorce with $1 million. Veronica Hayes slightly parted her lips, wanting to explain, but I didn't want to hear it. Think whatever you want. If it makes you feel better, I'll be the villain. I'm the one who disrupted your perfect harmony, all right? Now quickly, give me my internship certificate. I've earned it. As for Daniel Miller and Veronica Hayes, they'd better get as far away from me as possible. Never appear before me again in this life. Seeing Veronica Hayes's eyes well up with tears, Daniel Miller finally released the divorce papers. I had already signed my name. We had agreed not to see each other during the mandatory waiting period before the divorce is finalized, and to go directly to get our divorce certificate when it expired. Veronica Hayes had also prepared the internship certificate and personally tore up the compensation notice. As I turned to leave, Daniel Miller called out to me, "Olivia Thompson, you're too impulsive. If you need it, I can arrange for you to become a permanent employee." I took a deep breath. No need. Now that Veronica Hayes had secured her position, her mood improved. "Young lady, don't be so dramatic. We can arrange an easy job for you, guaranteeing you a life free of worries." I scoffed. "So I work here while you're the wife and I'm the mistress?" Veronica Hayes remembered how she had secured her position. Her face alternated between green and white. Daniel Miller took a deep, angry breath. "Olivia Thompson, I used to pamper you too much. You have no idea how hard it is to find a job now." I gave him a faint glance. "I'm still young, so I naturally have opportunities to make mistakes and learn. From marriage to divorce, I'm still only 24. Perhaps that's the advantage of youth. After going through all of this, I still have plenty of future to squander." I went home and began a relaxed period. Dad was busy with work and had no time to look after me. I was an only daughter and my mother passed away early. So Dad specifically asked Ethan, my cousin I'd grown up with, to keep me company and help me unwind. We spent every day shopping and sightseeing. Life was going smoothly. If I hadn't run into Daniel Miller on the street, I would have almost forgotten about him. But the moment I saw him, I couldn't help but feel a pang of heartache. Ethan already knew about our situation. He looked at where Daniel Miller was standing and gave a knowing expression. "Ever since Uncle Harrison cut ties with Miller Industries, that mistress, what's her name, Veronica Hayes, right? She keeps loitering downstairs at my dad's office. But Uncle Harrison doesn't want to see her. He's afraid he'll lose control and hit her. Daniel Miller's visit this time probably means this situation has become too big to handle. Do you want to go say hello? I'll go with you." I shook my head, ultimately deciding not to approach him. After our divorce, Daniel Miller never sent me a single message, which only proves I haven't been his choice for a long time. Meeting now would only make us despise the sight of each other. Let's just forget it. Ethan was somewhat relieved. "Your ability to let go is stronger than anything." Two of us quietly left. Later, Ethan told me that for the next few days, Daniel Miller persistently stood downstairs at my dad's company. If it weren't for knowing his true colors, one might have been touched by Daniel Miller's persistence. An ordinary person would surely think Daniel Miller was sincere and resilient. That's how it was in the beginning, too, when I fell so deeply in love, believing Daniel Miller was my true love. If he had been there to reconcile with me, I might have been swayed. But unfortunately, he was never there for me from start to finish. Ethan still secretly told Dad about it. After Dad found out, he found an excuse to refuse Daniel Miller, so Daniel Miller wouldn't stand downstairs at his company anymore. Because after Daniel Miller appeared, his darling daughter didn't even want to visit him at the office. But circumstances are unpredictable. I still ran into that toxic pair. To help me meet new friends, Dad recently hosted several banquets, inviting industry titans and prominent families from his social circle. I didn't want to disappoint Dad, so I attended. However, I didn't want to spend time dressing up. I just wore a regular tracksuit and ate cupcakes in a corner of the banquet hall. It was my favorite dessert shop. I was happily enjoying my treat. Someone rudely snatched the cupcake from my hand. I looked over, bewildered, to see Veronica Hayes in an evening gown. Maliciously, she smeared the cupcake onto a young girl's handbag. The girl turned around in shock. Veronica Hayes spoke. "Olivia Thompson, how could you do such a thing? You can't just throw a cupcake at Mia Peterson out of jealousy." It had been a while. Veronica Hayes was still so nauseating, her whole being radiating malice. Mia Peterson, are you okay? I stood. Then looked at her with concern. Mia Peterson was looking annoyed as she wiped her beloved bag. Veronica Hayes cut me off. How could she be okay? Miss Mia's limited edition handbag must be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Can you afford to pay for something so precious? Mia Peterson frowned, stuffing the bag into my arms. Liv, hold this for me. Then, Mia Peterson put her hands on her hips and started yelling. Are you out of your mind? Didn't you just smash that cupcake onto my bag? Do you think I'm blind or stupid? How dare you try such a clumsy trick? Mia Peterson was the only daughter of Mrs. Peterson, a notoriously feisty woman in socialite circles, and Mia Peterson had mastered her mother's knack for yelling perfectly. Hearing her voice, everyone around us turned to look. Veronica Hayes's face went from pale to flushed. She hadn't expected Mia Peterson to side with me. Unfortunately for Veronica Hayes, she thought I was a helpless young lady with no power or influence. But Mia Peterson's father and my father were close business partners, and Mia Peterson and I were practically childhood friends. Even if it wasn't for our parents' sake, Mia Peterson herself wouldn't stand by and let Veronica Hayes slander me. A few months later, I received a message from the young woman, saying she was also leaving her job. I was a little puzzled, remembering how much she used to cherish that opportunity. The young woman told me about the recent situation at Miller Industries. Since then, Miller Industries had accumulated more and more debt, unable to pay salaries for several months. Creditors united, blockaded the company entrance, surrounded Daniel Miller and beat him up, and even moved out valuable items like computers and monitors from the office. If I stayed any longer, my life would be in danger. Seeing me listen intently, the young woman sent a few pictures. In the photos, Daniel Miller no longer had his former elegant demeanor. With broken bones, he could only lean on a crutch. His exposed skin was bruised and purple. I asked, what about Veronica Hayes? Isn't she looking after Daniel Miller anymore? When Veronica Hayes was mentioned, the young woman perked up even more. The news of Veronica Hayes cheating with various executives was printed into flyers and plastered all over the company. It was supposedly done by the first wives of those executives, who were furious. They even had people set up loudspeakers at Veronica Hayes's apartment complex entrance to publicize it. Veronica Hayes was so enraged that she wanted to marry Daniel Miller to salvage her reputation. But how could Daniel Miller agree to marry someone so tarnished? Two of them got into a fight at the company. Their blows were incredibly vicious. Daniel Miller's face was scratched in several places, and Veronica Hayes even had her ribs broken. The young woman said indignantly, I was directly laid off, and they didn't even pay my salary. I sent her a contact. I told her this person would help her sue for compensation, and that other colleagues who needed it could join as well. Afterward, I'd arrange a job for her. I specifically reminded her, don't forget your severance package. Hearing she could sue Daniel Miller, the young woman left happily. Looking at our chat history, I felt a moment of disorientation. I had never imagined things would unfold so quickly. Soon, the 3-month waiting period before the divorce is finalized was over. Dad accompanied me to the entrance to wait for Daniel Miller. To my surprise, Daniel Miller appeared before me, holding a bouquet of flowers. The moment he saw me, he humbly lowered his head. Olivia Thompson, please give me another chance. I didn't even want to acknowledge him. In my heart, he was already tainted. No matter what a tainted person said, I, Olivia Thompson, would never want him again. Daniel Miller gazed at me with deep affection. Olivia Thompson, it was my fault. Veronica Hayes was the one who initiated it. The truth is, I don't like her at all. I don't want to be with her. You're the only one I love in my heart. His belated display of affection was utterly worthless. After the divorce, it wasn't as if I hadn't given him a chance. For such a long time, if he had even sent me a single message asking about my well-being, I might have still held on to the affection and bond of the past 3 years. But he never did, not once. He was convinced I couldn't leave him, so he kept stringing me along. He even forced me to tolerate him finding a mistress, to endure Veronica Hayes' suppression and contempt, and to accept all his mistakes. If his company hadn't collapsed now, he definitely wouldn't have regretted divorcing me. I looked at him coldly. Daniel Miller, I heard there's a wealthy socialite in my dad's social circle whose husband passed away. Her family is in international trade, and she might be able to help you. Her household recently needs a butler. Would you like to try for it? Daniel Miller's eyes flickered slightly. Just a butler? The moment I said this, my dad's face darkened. Daniel Miller immediately understood something and started begging me, following me. No, Olivia Thompson, let me explain. I just thought you wanted me to work at that company. I truly don't want to divorce you. You're so disgusting. I frowned in disgust. Seeing my unwavering resolve, Daniel Miller stumbled back a few steps. To prevent any scene, Dad had specially brought a few bodyguards. Escorted by the bodyguards, we obtained our divorce certificate. As I left, I advised him, don't be too sad. Although we're divorced, I can't introduce you to any business deals related to my company. But I didn't say no to other types of arrangements, did I? After all, you still have your charm. But don't get angry, no one will want you when you're old. Daniel Miller's face flushed with anger, yet he still chased after me, asking for that wealthy socialite's contact information. Unable to escape, I simply typed a random number into his phone. After the graduation ceremony, Dad asked me if I wanted to take over the family business. I thought about it all night and finally agreed. Dad was getting older, and I couldn't always be so irresponsible and just travel around. I also needed to carry the burden for Dad. To my surprise, I saw Veronica Hayes while meeting with a business partner. She was dressed provocatively, following an old man as his secretary. The old man lecherously groped her behind several times. Veronica Hayes showed no shame upon seeing me. Instead, she came over to ask me about Daniel Miller's current situation. Honestly, I couldn't care less about their fate. Veronica Hayes persistently followed me, saying, that scumbag is now a lackey, groveling around wealthy women. What he's doing now, how is it any different from me? I told him to marry me so we could have a good life, but he refused. And now? Thumbs. Veronica Hayes left somewhat triumphantly, arm in arm with the old man. Actually, I wasn't oblivious. On my phone, the young woman had, as usual, sent me a video. Daniel Miller was humbly kneeling on the ground, groveling for wealthy women. TSK, TSK. Truly shameless. I instructed her, make him kneel for me, kneel all night long. The few years after taking over the company were busy but fulfilling. I gradually forgot about that relationship. Until one day I attended a banquet held at a bar. The moment I walked in, I saw Daniel Miller. He was kneeling at the dessert table, scantily clad, holding a tray filled with red wine. I thought I was seeing things. A wealthy socialite next to me introduced him. This is their new gimmick. To get a glass of wine, you have to stuff money into the man's chest, and of course, you can take the opportunity to grope him. I saw people walking up one after another. Daniel Miller shamelessly made seductive expressions and gestures, enticing the women to stuff money into his collar and waistband. I must have been blind before. To think I once held in high regard someone like this. I felt nauseated. I made an excuse and left the bar. The entrance, Daniel Miller was entangled with a glamorous woman. The woman slapped him, knocking him to the ground. He humbly prostrated himself, apologizing. The woman left, but Daniel Miller saw me. He murmured, Olivia Thompson. I smiled, walked over, and took the loose change from my bag, scattering it over his head. Then I got into my car without looking back. In the rearview mirror, Daniel Miller was still kneeling on the ground, motionless, letting the people around him scramble for the scattered bills. I don't know what he was thinking at that moment, but I knew that what a person loses, they never get back.